Hello and welcome back to Work Wednesday. I am Sheen, your host, and today we're joined by Nikita. Hello, Nikita.
Hi, Sheen.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Okay, Nikita, do you want to do a little bit of a recap of how we know each other?
How do we know each other, Sheen? I've already forgotten.
You tell me.
Not very much.
It's not been that long.
Sheen and I met through a wonderful mutual friend of ours in November last year.
Yeah?
And we had one call
Which lasted 2 hours.
and immediately hit it off. And clearly, finishing each other's sentences is something that started to happen very quickly.
Yep.
Then we started a little project together.
Yeah, after the first call, we decided that we will be great working together, and we started an Instagram page. Which kind
Went
of...
well for a bit.
We really enjoyed it, but the reason it kind of stopped is because Nikita does 132 projects.
And Sheen
On the
does
side.
only 127.
Yeah, that's it. But we do, the reason we put it on pause is because we were not sure what to do with it. And until we are just going to put it on pause. But anyway, back to Nikita. What do you do, Nikita?
What do I do? I think and speak too much, probably.
Yes.
So I work at LinkedIn as a data analyst as my day job, and on the side of that, I'm building a startup with a couple of friends of mine, and it's in the future of workspace, which I think is what we're going to talk about today.
Great. She already answered the question before I asked her.
There you go,
Great.
I'm efficient.
The future of work. That sounds very fancy. What does it mean?
Does it?
Yeah, it's got two big words in it, right? Future and work.
Right, okay, whatever you say. The future of work. So, I think when we talk about the future of work, what we mean is actually that COVID has accelerated a lot of trends in the world of work that we were seeing before anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, we were seeing an increased pace of technological change that's affecting the jobs that we have, the skills that are needed to thrive in that workforce, amongst other things.
Mm-hmm.
But also people's idea of what work actually means and what a career can actually be are changing really rapidly as well.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas before people were kind of comfortable with the idea and the security of a 9-to-5 corporate job, I think everything that's happened over the last year has shown people how important it is to, one, spend time with their loved ones,
Mm-hmm.
two, do meaningful and impactful work, and three, actually have the flexibility and autonomy to do something that they care about. And that's why we've seen the rise in remote working and things like that. So I think the future of work encompasses a lot of these things as an umbrella term.
Right.
And so much is changing in the space now that I think it's a really important thing to think about.
Right, so when you're talking about the future of work, you're not only talking about the nature of the type of work that we're going to do, but also just what a work day looks like and, you know, for example, working from home, or whether you need a team, whether you work on your own a bit, all of that can change.
Right, I think it's all of those things, right? It's what does the workday look like? How do we do work? What are the jobs that we're going to be doing? When are we going to be doing them? Where are we going to be doing them from?
Right.
And it encompasses all of that. It's almost misleading, I think, to think of it as the future of work, because I think so many of these trends we're already seeing today.
Yeah,
right?
because my question was going to be, what is the future when you're saying the future of work? How far along the timeline are we
Good
talking about?
question.
Or is it something that's already started?
What do you think? Do you think it's something that's already started?
I mean, clearly from the way we work, right, is already a bit there, where we don't only do our day job, but we also have other things on the side, and
127.
127 projects on the side. So it's a lot of that is already happening, and especially with the content creation world where people are self-employed and having their own businesses and doing a lot of things that conventionally would not count as work, right? For example, going to a restaurant, taking a picture of a food and calling that your job.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So I think it's already started, but and with the working from home thing, so based on my own experience, I loved it, but I also do miss the community vibe that comes from in an office, right?
Sure.
And I had lunch this week with my work colleagues for the first time after working with them for 6 months.
Yeah.
And it's incredible what difference it makes to actually know the people you're working with, right? And hang out with them when it's not a scheduled Zoom call
100%.
where you are actually just have an agenda and trying to get things sorted.
Yeah.
You're just hanging out and just chatting about life, and I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, so then I also thought that given that we've seen that we can work from home, we can let people work from home, that this might change. But now very quickly everyone seems to be calling everyone back to the office.
Interesting, yeah.
Right? So have we actually learnt anything?
Good question. I think that you can see this repeated throughout history, right?
Right.
We have had, over the past 1.5 years, one of the most globally traumatic events that we've seen in recent history. And I think that it's everyone's dream, and everyone is very optimistic about the fact that hopefully we've actually learned from this. And I think there's definitely reason to be optimistic, but I think it takes people like you and people like me who are kind of carving our own paths and already jumping on this trend of, okay, maybe it's not 127 projects, but we have a day job, we have a side hustle, we are experimenting with different ways of generating income and working with different people, collaborating in new ways. And I think that that's really exciting.
Okay.
And one thing that's really important for us to do is show people the art of the possible. Because I think traditionally the way the education system works, and this is something we talk about a lot, right, is that the education system prepares people for a world of work that was relevant in the industrial age. And today, with how automated things are becoming and the rise of AI, there are going to be, I think, about 95 million new jobs created by 2025.
Okay.
This means that people are going to need to be reskilled continuously throughout their careers. And we can't just rely on a broken education system to do that. We need to find a way to empower people to build these skills continuously as they grow their career. But I think you also said something interesting about community. How do you feel as someone who is, I guess, an independent worker? You have a full-time job, but you're also doing these other things. How do you find it in terms of discovering other people who are taking a similar path to you? Do you find it easy to find them? How do you build that community around yourself?
That's very interesting, because I was thinking about this the other day. I have quite a lot of YouTuber female friends, and a lot of them are Asian as well, and but I don't know how we actually became friends. So then I was trying to figure it out, and I think you do kind of find the people. You don't remember because it's so organic, where people sometimes just comment on your stuff, or you know, on Instagram it comes on your suggested page, and you're like, oh, this person is doing the same thing, it's cool, let me follow them. So sometimes it happens like this. Sometimes you're talking to someone and telling them, oh, I have a YouTube channel, this is what I'm doing, and they're like, oh, you should talk to this person, they're also doing the same thing. And then you kind of build that community. But it does make a huge difference having that community, because you have the same struggles. You have this. You can complain about the haters together,
of course.
Or,
very important.
of course, but it's also just good for morale. You know, you can bounce off ideas of people. For example, us. Just we work in very different fields, and even our side hustle is very different. But the fact that we are balancing both of these, for example, means that you understand the struggle, and we can talk about it. And I think it's very important to have that community. And I don't know if my experience of finding it is the general experience, or I was just lucky.
That's really interesting. It's almost like a magnetic attraction, actually, I think, what you said. For example, when we first spoke, even though, I mean, we knew we had a mutual friend, that's how we met each other, but in one conversation we covered so much ground in terms of the things that really drew us together. And I think it was really clear then that we were going to be really good friends and probably work together at some point and things like that. And I think it's really special when you do stumble across those people. I wouldn't say it's easy, but I think you know when you do. And it's about how can we almost replicate that at scale and bring all of these people together. Because there are so many communities nowadays. It's about finding the ones that are not kind of empty Slack channels, but are actually providing some kind of value, are allowing you to learn with other people, connect with other people and stuff like that. And I think, there's definitely kind of room to innovate there, but there are also other problems, right? For example, you know, a lot of people aren't in as lucky a position as us in terms of the fact that they don't have a stable full-time job. And so, you know, gaining that kind of financial ability to actually do a lot of different things and freelance and go independent is actually really difficult. And that's the one thing that me and my co-founders are thinking about, like, how can you provide the financial infrastructure to people, for people to actually be able to experiment and try different things, so that they don't see this path as inherently risky, like a lot of people view entrepreneurship or YouTubing, for example. So those are some of the things that I've been thinking about late at night.
Well, good thinking. And I think the thing with the community thing, right, it's not necessarily, it doesn't need to be an official thing, where we have a Slack channel, we have a WhatsApp group. It's not that. It's like, for example, me, right? I know you individually, and then through you, I've met your co-founders.
Right.
And then we've met other people through each other, and then I have other people who you don't know that I talk to. So it's nice to just have different people with different skill sets and different networks of their own, and then you get to talk to them and you can always brainstorm or just pick their brain about something.
It's like how you have friends for different reasons almost, right? Like when you want to have a good cry, you come to me.
We come to each other.
When that is true.
Yeah.
But when we want a soundboard, you know, to be fair, I still come to you. But I might go to a different friend who I don't have that kind of necessarily like the same emotional connection.
Exactly.
And I think that we can think of communities in the future of work in the same way. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's our main takeaway? What advice will you give to people who are at uni or who are about to embark onto a career? Like, how do they think of this, the future of work thing?
I think if I were to give one piece of advice to people who are starting off on their early career journey, or even at university, still in school, it's to build this thing we call leverage.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are kind of, well, maybe not that many people, but it's starting to come more into the mainstream, this idea of building digital leverage. And it's the idea that now more than ever, it's easy to build, how do we explain leverage? Gosh. It's easy to build momentum on top of what you're doing. So that could be through writing content, YouTubing, it could be through blogging, or writing code and building a piece of software or an app. Basically, the idea behind digital leverage is that you cut the cord between your time investment in something, like a day job, for example, and the monetary output or other output that you might get. And it's a concept that's maybe slightly difficult to wrap your head around at the beginning, but you realize that if we take the example of YouTube, right? At the beginning, it's a lot of effort. You have a lot of upfront costs in terms of time and energy and things like that. But after a while, all the content on your channel is going to continue to generate money if you've already monetized, right? It becomes a type of passive income, whether you believe in that or not. And ultimately, there are more and more mechanisms nowadays to be able to do this. And more than anything, whilst it gives you that passive income and that ability to actually carve your own path, it also helps you figure out what your passions are, you know, what you hate, what you love doing in the world of work. And I think that given that it's easier than ever to figure that out, we can get more people into career paths that they really love, as well as getting people into more meaningful work that's actually going to have a wider kind of societal and environmental impact, which is super important given the times that we're living in.
Great advice. And Nikita might be starting a YouTube channel soon.
Exciting.
So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, and we will definitely plug you back in once that is up and running.
Why, thank you.
Yeah, and anything you would like to plug at the moment? Maybe the newsletter?
Yes, I write a lot about education, the future of work, and how these things interlink on my blog on Substack called Inkling, so give it a follow if you'd like, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you for being here, Nikita, and now we're going to have a sleepover, so it's going to be fun. And
we're all prepped.
We've got all of our
very
snacks.
Excited.
Very exciting. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye. Bye.